Freak controlling girl broke up with her boyfriend the day after vacation. Well, well, well. You know, the nice young couple from Maple Street, the ones in the blue house with the hydrangeas? Marcus Chin and that girlfriend of his, Jessica Torres. Lord have mercy, the drama that unfolded. Pull up a chair because Mrs. Mel has got the tea and it's still piping hot. Now, I've been living in this neighborhood for 37 years, and I pride myself on knowing what's what. Call me nosy if you want. I prefer community-minded, but when you've got a nose for trouble like mine, you can't help but notice when things are about to go sideways. And let me tell you, I saw this disaster coming from a mile away. It all started about 6 months ago when I noticed Jessica's car staying overnight more and more at Marcus's place. Sweet boy, that Marcus, 28 years old, works as a software developer downtown. Always waves when he walks his 2 golden retrievers, Bailey and Max, gorgeous dogs, those two. Jessica, she's younger, 25, works in marketing or public relations, or one of those jobs where you're always on your phone. Pretty girl, I'll give her that. With that long dark hair she's always tossing around. But there was something about her eyes that never sat right with me. Too calculating, if you know what I mean. I first really noticed trouble brewing when I was watering my petunias, the pink ones that won the neighborhood garden contest last year. Thank you very much. It was a Tuesday evening, maybe around 7:30, and I heard shouting coming from Marcus's backyard. Now, I'm not one to eavesdrop, but when someone's yelling loud enough to scare the birds from my bird feeder, well, a concerned neighbor has to pay attention. You're always looking at other women. Jessica was screaming. I saw how you looked at the barista this morning. Poor Marcus, trying to calm her down, saying something about just ordering coffee. But she wasn't having it. This went on for a good 20 minutes before his back door slammed so hard I thought the glass might break. Over the next few weeks, it became a pattern. Tuesday fights, Thursday tears, weekend makeups. My friend Dolores from 2 streets over, she works at the same company as Marcus, told me during our Thursday bridge club that Jessica had shown up at his office 3 times in 1 week just to bring him lunch. But Dolores said it looked more like she was checking up on him, eyeing every female employee like they were trying to steal her man. Now, here's where it gets interesting. About 2 months ago, I'm at the grocery store, the nice one on Oak Street, not the discount place, and who do I see but Jessica? She's on her phone, and honey, she's not using her inside voice. I don't care what he says, she's telling whoever's on the other end. The vacation is already booked. Once we're away from all these distractions, he'll remember why he loves me. And if he doesn't, well, I've got my ways. Red flag alert. I nearly dropped my organic avocados right there in produce. So when I heard from Margaret at the post office, her son works at the travel agency, that Marcus had booked a week-long trip to some fancy resort in Turks and Caicos, I knew fireworks were coming. Margaret said Marcus seemed nervous when he booked it, kept asking about cancellation policies. Smart boy had a feeling, I think. The day before they left, I was trimming my rose bushes, the yellow ones that smell like heaven, and I saw Marcus loading suitcases into his car. Jessica was standing on the porch with her arms crossed, tapping her foot like she was already mad about something. I called out a friendly, "Have a nice trip," and Marcus gave me this look, you know the kind, like a man heading to his own execution. "Thanks, Mrs. Mel," he said, and I swear his voice cracked a little. "Could you maybe keep an eye on the house? You know, just in case." "Of course, dear," I told him, though I was thinking he should be more worried about what was inside his car than what might happen to his house. Now, you'd think that would be the end of my involvement, but oh no. You see, my nephew Tommy works at the airlines, ground crew at the airport. And wouldn't you know it, he was working the day they flew out. He texted me, "Kids these days with their texting, Aunt Mel, isn't Marcus Chin your neighbor? His GF is causing a scene at gate 47. Well, I nearly burned my coffee cake. I was so eager to hear more. According to Tommy, Jessica had given Marcus some kind of ultimatum right there in the boarding area. Something about checking his phone, wanting all his passwords, demanding he block every female contact he had. Tommy said Marcus finally had enough and told her she was being ridiculous, and that's when she announced, loud enough for the entire gate to hear, that they were through. But here's the kicker. they still got on that plane. Can you imagine? A 5-hour flight sitting next to your brand new ex? Tommy said the flight attendants were already exchanging worried looks. Now, most of what happened at the resort I had to piece together from various sources. My niece Sharon, different side of the family from Tommy, happens to work in tourism and knows people at practically every major resort in the Caribbean. The Coconut Telegraph, as they call it, was buzzing with this story. According to Sharon's friend Miguel, who works at the resort, Marcus spent the first day holed up in their room while Jessica prowled around the resort like a territorial cat. She'd stationed herself at the pool bar where she could watch the room, and any time a female staff member went near their floor, she'd follow them. The bartender said she went through 3 pina coladas before noon, each one accompanied by a louder rant about cheating boyfriends and home-wrecking sluts. That evening, when Marcus finally ventured out, it got worse. Sharon's friend said Jessica followed him to the beach bar, where he was just trying to have a quiet beer and watch the sunset. The moment he said thank you to the female bartender, just basic politeness, mind you, Jessica lost it. "Oh, now you're hitting on the staff," she shrieked. "I knew you'd try to cheat the second we broke up." The poor bartender, Miguel said she was just a kid, maybe 21, looked terrified. Marcus tried to walk away, but Jessica followed him, yelling accusations. She claimed she'd seen him making eyes at 3 different women just walking from the room to the bar. Security had to intervene when she threw a drink at him, missed, thank goodness, but it splattered all over some poor honeymooning couple. Here's where my network really came in handy. You remember my hairdresser, Vivian? Well, her daughter Luna just happens to be a travel blogger who was staying at the same resort that week. Small world, isn't it? Luna sent her mom photos and videos. The youth today document everything, and Vivian showed me during my monthly trim and color. The resort moved Marcus to a penthouse suite, free upgrade to keep him away from Jessica and avoid more scenes. But Jessica, that girl was determined. Luna's video showed her stationed outside the penthouse floor elevator, telling anyone who'd listen that her boyfriend was up there, probably with some whore. Security kept moving her along, but she'd just relocate. Luna, bless her heart, actually talked to Marcus. She said he was trying to make the best of it, joined a group of friendly guests, even made friends with a wedding party that was there. But Jessica was like his shadow, always watching from a distance, approaching him multiple times a day to work things out. Now here's where it gets really juicy. Luna said on day 3, Jessica tried a different tactic. She showed up at the pool in the tiniest bikini you ever saw, and I've seen the photos. It was basically dental floss, and started flirting outrageously with every man in sight. The performance was clearly for Marcus's benefit, lots of hair tossing and loud laughter. But Marcus just kept reading his book, chatting with his new friends, acting like she wasn't there. This drove Jessica absolutely mad. According to Luna, she escalated to practically giving a lap dance to some confused British tourist. When that didn't work, she accidentally fell into the pool right in front of Marcus, clearly expecting him to jump in and save her. Instead, a lifeguard helped her out while Marcus didn't even look up from his conversation. The wedding Marcus attended? Luna was there too. She knew the bride from college. Small world gets smaller. She said Marcus was a perfect gentleman, danced with the older ladies, chatted with the families, and when the bride's cousin asked him to dance, he politely did one dance and then excused himself. But Jessica saw this. She'd been lurking by the palm trees like some kind of stalker, and that was her breaking point. She burst into the reception screaming that Marcus was trying to fuck wedding guests now. Security had to physically remove her while she shouted threats about what she'd do when they got home. The poor bride was in tears. The groom was ready to call the police, and Marcus just sat there with his head in his hands. That's when Jessica made her fatal mistake. In her rage, she called someone, Luna couldn't hear who, and said, "Fine. If he wants to play games, I'll show him. I know exactly what will hurt him most." She left the resort 2 days early. Everyone thought that was the end of it, that Marcus could finally enjoy what was left of his vacation. He spent the last 2 days actually relaxing, Luna said. Went parasailing, joined a snorkeling trip, even sang karaoke one night with the wedding party. The staff all loved him. He tipped well and apologized constantly for the earlier scenes. But Jessica? Oh, she was busy. You see, while Marcus was trying to salvage his vacation, Jessica flew back and went straight to his house. How do I know? Because I was watering my garden when she showed up with a U-Haul. At first, I thought, good, she's moving out. Maybe there's hope for a peaceful resolution. But then I noticed she wasn't just taking her things. She loaded up his 65-inch TV, his gaming console, his espresso machine, even tried to take his grill until I called out, Jessica, dear, isn't that Marcus's father's grill? The one he gave him before he passed. She gave me a look that could curdle milk. We bought it together. She lied, smooth as silk. But I knew better. I'd helped Marcus move that grill when he first bought the house, 2 years before she came along. I don't think so, sweetie, I said, my hand already on my phone. Should I call the police to help sort this out? She put the grill back, but took plenty of other things. The worst part? She took Bailey and Max. Now, I know what you're thinking. How could she take his dogs? Well, apparently, she'd been planning this for a while. She'd made sure her name was on the vet records as co-owner. She'd been the one to renew their city licenses. Legally, she had as much claim to them as he did. I tried to stop her. Jessica, those are his babies. You can't take his dogs. Watch me, she said, and loaded those poor confused golden retrievers into her car. Bailey was whimpering, looking back at the house like he knew something was wrong. Max was pressing his nose against the window. It broke my heart. I immediately called Marcus, but of course, international calls are tricky, and he was probably out enjoying his last day. I left messages, sent texts, even tried to Facebook message him. Yes, I have Facebook. I'm not a dinosaur, but nothing went through in time. When Marcus came home the next day, I watched from my window as the taxi pulled up. He looked relaxed, maybe even happy, until he saw his front door. Jessica had left it unlocked, petty to the last. He went inside, and I could see lights going on room by room as he discovered what she'd taken. But it was when he came back outside calling for Bailey and Max that my heart truly broke. The look on his face when I had to tell him, I've never seen a grown man crumble like that. She took my boys, he kept saying. She took my boys? I told him everything I'd seen, offered to be a witness if he wanted to press charges. But here's the thing about theft between domestic partners, it's complicated. The police said since she lived there and her name was on some documents, it was a civil matter. Marcus tried everything. He called her, texted, even went to her sister's place where she was staying. But Jessica had already started her next move, a social media campaign that would make your head spin. My granddaughter showed me Jessica's Instagram. Post after post about narcissistic exes and surviving emotional abuse. She painted herself as the victim, claiming Marcus had been psychologically manipulating her for months. The vacation? According to her version, he'd isolated her in a foreign country and flirted with other women to punish her. The photos she posted were carefully curated, her crying at the resort, no context of her screaming fits, her alone at restaurants, not mentioning she'd been stalking him, even a picture of Bailey's and Max with captions about protecting these babies from their toxic father. The comments were brutal. People who didn't know the real story were calling Marcus a monster. Some of Jessica's friends even started harassing him online. His LinkedIn, his professional LinkedIn, was flooded with messages calling him an abuser. Someone even called his employer. But here's where karma starts its slow wind-up. Remember Luna, the travel blogger? Well, she'd been documenting her resort stay for her blog. And guess who featured prominently in the background of many shots? Jessica, in all her screaming, drink-throwing, reception-crashing glory. Luna, good soul that she is, reached out to Marcus and offered him the footage. At first, Marcus didn't want to engage. I just want my dogs back, he told me one evening when I brought him a casserole. The poor boy had lost weight, had dark circles under his eyes. I don't care what people think. I just want Bailey and Max. But Jessica wouldn't negotiate. She blocked his number, had her sister threaten him with a restraining order if he didn't stop harassing them. She was drunk on her victim narrative, doing Facebook Live videos about surviving narcissistic abuse, while Bailey and Max wandered in the background, looking confused and sad. That's when the wedding party from the resort entered the chat, as the kids say. Turns out, the bride was a fairly successful lifestyle influencer, and she was pissed about Jessica ruining her reception. She posted a series of stories about the crazy ex who crashed my wedding, complete with security footage the resort had shared with her for potential legal action. Honey, it went viral. Suddenly, Jessica's carefully crafted victim narrative met reality. The resort staff started sharing their own stories in the comments. The British tourist she'd tried to seduce posted his version. Even some of the flight attendants from their trip chimed in anonymously about the passenger who caused multiple disturbances. But the real knockout punch came from an unexpected source. Remember Dolores from my bridge club? Her daughter is a paralegal at a law firm downtown. Well, Jessica had made a crucial mistake in her rage. She'd posted photos of items she'd taken from Marcus's house, bragging about taking what I deserve from my abuser, including photos of his father's watch, his grandmother's china, and several other items that were clearly not hers. Marcus finally hired a lawyer. Not for defamation or harassment, but for theft. And those social media posts? They were evidence. The court battle was swift but brutal. Jessica tried to maintain her victim act, but when Luna's videos were submitted as evidence, along with the resort's security footage and witness statements from about 20 guests and staff, her story fell apart like a house of cards in a hurricane. The judge ordered her to return everything she'd taken. Everything. But here's where this story takes its darkest turn. The night before she was supposed to return Bailey and Max, Jessica did something unforgivable. She claimed the dogs ran away from her sister's backyard. Said she'd left the gate open by accident and they'd escaped. Marcus was devastated. He searched for days, put up posters, offered rewards. The whole neighborhood helped look. I spent hours driving around calling their names. The local news even did a segment. But I knew something was off. Jessica's sister lived in a gated community 45 minutes away. How did two golden retrievers just vanish without anyone seeing them? My nephew Tommy, the one from the airport, has a friend who works at animal control. On a hunch, I asked him to check if any golden retrievers had been surrendered recently to shelters outside our county. Bingo. Two golden retrievers matching Bailey and Max's description had been dropped off at a high-kill shelter 2 counties over. The person who dropped them off? A woman matching Jessica's description who paid cash and gave a fake name. We raced there, me, Marcus, and Tommy, but we were 12 hours too late. The shelter had a 72-hour hold policy. The dogs had been there for 4 days. I can't even say it. When Marcus found out, he collapsed right there in the shelter lobby. They had to call an ambulance. Anxiety attack so severe they thought it was a heart attack. I held that boy's hand in the hospital while he sobbed. 28 years old, successful career, whole life ahead of him, and he was broken. Completely broken. He kept saying, they trusted me to keep them safe. They trusted me. The security footage from the shelter was grainy, but it was enough. Jessica was arrested for animal cruelty and filing a false report. Her mugshot was in the papers, not so pretty anymore with mascara running down her face and her hair a mess. During the trial, everything came out. The prosecution painted a picture of a woman so consumed with control and revenge that she'd killed 2 innocent dogs just to hurt her ex. Her social media posts were used against her, showing premeditation. Even her own sister testified against her, admitting Jessica had brought the dogs to her house and then taken them while she was at work. Jessica got 2 years in prison and a lifetime ban on owning animals. She lost her job, her friends, everything. Her Instagram influencer dreams died with her reputation. Last I heard, even her family had cut ties. But that's not really justice, is it? 2 innocent dogs were gone. A good man was destroyed. Marcus sold his house, said he couldn't live there without Bailey and Max moved across the country, deleted all social media, just vanished. Dolores heard he's in therapy, trying to deal with the trauma. The blue house with the hydrangeas stands empty now. The new owners are nice enough, a young family with kids. But sometimes, when I'm watering my petunias in the evening, I remember seeing Marcus throwing tennis balls for Bailey and Max in that backyard. I remember their happy barks, their wagging tails, the way they'd greet everyone like long-lost friends. And I think about how one person's obsession, jealousy, and need for control destroyed it all. People ask me what the moral of the story is. Like there has to be some neat lesson wrapped up with a bow. But life isn't that clean, is it? Sometimes bad people do terrible things, and even when they face consequences, the damage can't be undone. I suppose if there's anything to learn, it's this. When someone shows you who they are, believe them. Every red flag Jessica waved, the jealousy, the public scenes, the ultimatums, they were all warnings of what she was capable of. Marcus saw them, but hoped love would be enough. He thought a vacation could fix what was fundamentally broken. Now I watch for red flags in the neighborhood. When the young couple in the yellow house argues a little too loud, when the woman in the corner apartment checks her boyfriend's phone at the mailbox, when control masquerades as love, I see it all. And sometimes, carefully, I try to warn them. Because I've seen how this story ends. I've held the hand of someone destroyed by loving the wrong person. I've searched for dogs that were already gone. I've watched karma arrive too late to matter. The blue house has new hydrangeas now. Purple ones. They're pretty enough, I suppose. But they're not the same. Nothing in that house will ever be the same. And somewhere across the country, a good man is trying to heal from wounds that might never fully close. While somewhere else, a woman sits in a cell, probably still convinced she's the victim. That's the real tragedy. Jessica will never understand what she destroyed. In her mind, she'll always be the wronged party. The dogs were just collateral damage in her war against a man whose only crime was trying to love her. I'm getting too old for this much sadness. But I can't help watching, can't help caring. It's who I am, nosy Mrs. Mel from Maple Street, the one who sees everything and can't keep her mouth shut. Maybe that's my purpose. To bear witness. To remember Bailey and Max. To hope that somewhere Marcus finds peace. And to warn others when I see the red flags waving. Because in the end, that's all we can do. Try to prevent the next tragedy, even when we couldn't stop this one. Now, if you'll excuse me, I need to water my roses. The yellow ones that smell like heaven. Life goes on, even when hearts don't quite heal. That's the thing about being the neighborhood watcher. You see it all, the good and the bad, the love and the loss. And you never, ever forget.